Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we are discussing United States embassies and, for purposes of this video, U.S. consulates abroad, so outside the United States obviously, and visa interviews for various types of visas to travel to the United States. I have seen on YouTube from folks, rather credible channels that I do sort of keep tabs on with respect to U.S. immigration, other professionals, colleagues in the community that I've had discussions with, and folks have asked me, do you think, or we've had the discussion, I should say, and it has been posed to me as well, do I think that the U.S. embassies and consulates, which are generally tasked with undertaking visa interviews, will remain closed until after the election? And this question seems to be based on the notion that the Trump administration, which seems to take, for lack of a better term, a dim view on certain aspects of immigration into the United States, whether or not they're going to, or the administration is going to try to keep embassies closed until the date of the election, until election day. Basically, again, part of the presumption that arises, or at least seems to arise, the sort of implied presumption, is that there are some political motives behind this, or the possibility that things may not reopen. Yes, COVID-19 has been an issue. It was the fundamental reason why embassies were closed for interviews in the first place. Now, presumably, at some point, things need to reopen. We need to go ahead and move on. Now, exactly when that's going to be remains to be seen. And I also suspect that it will be country specific. So different countries, we're going to see embassies and consulates reopen under different time frames. But the question has been posed by colleagues of mine that I've discussed this with, where they've said, well, you know, New Zealand is COVID free. They're an island nation, and they took swift and rather stringent measures to sort of quash the COVID transmission, quash the disease, if you will, and keep that from spreading in their country. COVID really isn't an issue. So why is the embassy not reopened? Why aren't they processing cases? Now, we're not based in New Zealand. We don't really deal with a lot of matters down in New Zealand or in Australia for that matter. But so I'm just seeing that sort of from afar. That being stated, there's nothing to my mind, and I went ahead and did a little bit of research, rather acute research, to sort of understand, as of the time of this video, it doesn't look to me like we're going to be seeing the embassy reopen for interviews particularly soon, although, again, what that means remains to be seen. In theory, I guess they could open tomorrow. Again, I don't think that's likely. I think we'd see some kind of clue that would be happening, or some kind of an announcement, perhaps from Department of State, that they were going to be phasing in a reopening or something. But they may not. They may just go post by post and just decide to reopen and inform folks accordingly. We had client cases scheduled for interview, quite a few of them, right before the closure. So I suspect we'll be seeing correspondence on that, at least regarding Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, other countries here in Southeast Asia. We would probably be seeing some sort of notification when that came about. But as of when something will change. That being stated, we're going to do another video specific to Vietnam, as Vietnam seems to be thawing in a limited way. But as far as sort of an overall broad reopening, it remains to be seen. I don't think there's anything, at least anything I've seen, that would suggest. Let me be specific on this. There's nothing I've seen in writing or any official correspondence, communication, or announcement that leads me to believe that the administration is waiting until after the election. There's nothing out there that says that. That being said, you know, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because they're not saying it doesn't mean that might not happen. Again, we're moving into the realm of speculation and conjecture there. But I guess I see the argument. Again, Trump's administration, Trump himself, seems to take a dim view with respect to U.S. immigration matters, and for this reason, they may be appealing to some base of theirs by keeping things closed. Now, remember, this is lawful immigration. This is not illegal immigration, which one would think that that differentiation could be made, although perhaps that's asking a lot. The thing to take away from this video, I simply don't have any evidence to suggest that we will, in fact, be waiting until after the election before these embassies reopen. At the same time, I don't have any evidence to suggest the contrary, that we'll reopen anytime sooner than that. In fact, it could be tomorrow, it could be a month from now. It remains to be seen. I suspect probably we will. My initial rule of thumb date was June 4th, and I did a video on that because USCIS was coming back online June 4th, and they have subsequently done so. Then the June 4th came and went. We saw really no activity with respect to Department of State. So now people are sort of looking, they've sent me messages too, asking me, well, what's the next sort of rule of thumb date? And frankly, I don't particularly have one. I do believe it's going to be country specific. I do think that countries that currently still have an ongoing COVID problem, we're probably not going to see those countries reopen for visa interviews particularly soon. But those countries, for example, Thailand, who've gotten their internal transmission rate sort of under control, or countries like New Zealand, who seem to have quashed it out entirely, it remains to be seen. It seems logical that those could be reopened. However, the government sort of does things in their own way, and there may be an overarching policy I'm not aware of to keep things closed. So all of this remains to be seen. I don't think it's particularly reasonable to presume it's going to go all the way out to the election, but again, there's nothing I'm seeing, there's nothing that I have that concretely suggests the opposite. So until we have further information, we're just going to have to sort of be on a wait and see, be looking at this on a wait and see basis. One final thing, it should be noted with respect to Thailand, if somebody's looking for a rule of thumb from me with respect to the reopening of the U.S. Embassy here in Thailand, again, this is based on nothing I've read. It's just sort of my internal calculation, my internal inferences. I think a decent rule of thumb maybe at this point could be July 1, because that's presumably when Thailand's looking at a full easing of their lockdown. They're fully going to pull, or presumably they're fully going to pull all of the restrictions associated with their lockdown. So to me, that's an important date to be looking at. And then subsequent to that, the only other date that really sticks out in my mind is going to be July 31st, which is the final date of the visa amnesty here in Thailand, which is an internal time matter. But then after that, presumably we're going to see things a little bit more opened up, or things moving a little bit more with respect to internal Thai immigration. Now, one doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the other. U.S. immigration and Thai immigration don't really correlate in how they operate, but I think that there's something to be said for the fact that authorities in both of those systems are probably looking at the same sets of facts, and I could see basically them both saying, hey, the situation has resolved itself, or the situation is markedly better, and for this reason we're going to start lifting our own restrictions and start processing things as before.